He fixed it, by the way. If you want to go back and read it, Andy Goldberg went in and like edited it for you, and yeah, so it's ready. Okay, so Bill Hybels says, think of your top 3 spiritual gifts. The first one, the top one, is probably the one that energizes you. It gives you life.
So it's the one, does it go by number? The one that has the highest number would be the...
Your top
Okay.
score, yeah, is your top one. So my top one, how did I put my other page? See, this is why I'm not quite sure that I agree with his assessment of this, but I'll say it anyway in case it means something to you. My top gift was exhortation. So that's defined as offer encouragement, wise counsel, a lot of support and empowerment. That may or may not be the thing that offers me the most energy. The one that energizes me. The second gift usually has a more neutral effect on you, so whatever your second top score was. And then the third gift often drains you, which actually for me made sense. My third score was giving. That makes sense. When you give, that would be a little bit draining, so that was a natural, easy one to follow through on. As you look at your spiritual gifts sheet, now is the time where I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to go through the one that's in your packet tonight. So there are a few more different, titles of spiritual gifts options for you. Go through that sheet and circle the ones that just resonate with you. Yeah, you can go with that too. So if you scored high on some of those would be natural ones that you will already circle. But I want you to read through that extra sheet and see if there's anything else that you find. Are there copies of it?
Yeah, it should be in the packet.
Which one is it?
Spiritual.
Unwrapping my gifts, that one?
Yeah.
Spiritual. It says spiritual gifts.
Spiritual gifts, unwrapping my gifts.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So you get a couple of minutes to read through that. Don't have a heart?
No, for the guy.
Oh, I'm
But it makes me angry that heart was given. It has to get there in 4 hours. It's something. That heart was wasted. He could have gone to somebody. Anyway.
No, that's okay. That's okay. I think that will make more sense after Barbara does the personality test and stuff.
Except the top one.
What the assessments do is they just tell you where you're strongest at. Because you can have a lot of gifts, but it tells you what your strongest
I'm
ones
just
are.
saying, heart's desire, I'm not saying my house.
Oh.
I have no
Ah.
gifts, but I have a lot.
Oh yes, we're about to talk about that in a minute.
Okay, I think they're ready to go.
Okay, so H is for heart, which I boil it down to is, what are you passionate about? Maybe you like to work on cars, or you like to do woodworking, or listen to music, work with children. My roommate, he's very passionate about guns and fishing. Like, he is building his own rifle, and he makes his own bullets. Like, he measures out the grains. We got 40 pounds of gunpowder in my house because he weighs out the grains. He's got different, expansion rates. He's crazy about it. He loves it. But that's what he's passionate about. I'm sure we're all passionate about many different things. I don't know.
You don't know what you're passionate
I'm trying to think. I'm sure there's something. I just got nothing to
You make your own beer.
I make my own beer. I love beer. I'm passionate about beer.
That's
We're not supposed to
good.
talk about that. So we're all passionate about lots of things. Because we are all different. Yeah, you should come over to my house. It's a lot of fun.
You just said beer.
And you have a handout that is on heart. I forget the official title. Heart's desires. And it's different things that you could desire, that you're passionate about. Maybe it's working with kids, working with the homeless, working with elderly. Because the list that you have is not very extensive. It's not an exhaustive list because there's many things you could be passionate about. One way to think about it is if you had a bunch of free time, how would you choose to spend it? Because that's what brings you joy and happiness and something you want to spend a lot of time just doing. Because you have the energy to do it and you enjoy doing it. And there is no right or wrong answer to this. Because it's all about who you are and what your passions are.
Okay, A stands for abilities. Abilities. So Romans 12:6, we already wrote down Romans 12, don't worry. It says that God has given each of us the ability to do certain things well. So on your SHAPE worksheet, it asks you what is your current vocation, or what was a past vocation. You could put that there. Or I feel like I have these specialized abilities from the list that's in your packet. So if you just flip the next page over, it has all these specialized abilities. But you can come up with and add your own. Ask yourself what comes naturally to you. Something that might come naturally, I should have thought this through beforehand. Something that comes naturally to you is something that you probably do without even thinking. So you can look at the list and it may actually inspire you to think about some of your daily activities. And this is not something, you're not circling things to say, oh my goodness, look how talented I am. I can just do everything, right? So you may go down the list and feel like, oh yeah, and you're circling. Please don't stop yourself from circling those things. What we're trying to do is just identify all these different things. And it doesn't mean that you're committing to do all these things either. You're not over-committing. We just want to know. It's not bragging. We just want to know. We just want to identify. So, yeah.
So these are coming back to you.
It's going to be a part of this. What we want back from you next week is the My Shape Is. So all these different things that you're circling, you're going to note them on the back page, and that will come back to us.
We need to edit those things if you don't want you.
No! That's right. If you want to hide anything.
That's right.
This is your moment.
That's
I
right.
still want you to get the wrong idea.
Oh, no.
Oh, I've got a job for him.
Actually, can I say something about that real quick? Because we did talk a little bit about how it is possible to skew your assessments. It's possible to skew your personality assessments. Barbara and I were just talking about this before we started. And so although it is nearly impossible to actually do this in any group setting, when you take your personality assessment, I do hope that you're able to take that with just an open mind and put down basically like the first answer that comes to your mind, the one that feels like the most natural response for you, and not overthinking it like, oh goodness, well, Pastor Asa and Pastor Sarah are going to read this. I don't want them to think that I am this certain other way. What if they think that I'm a bad person? No, this is who you are. And never ever does God say that who you are is bad or not beautiful in any way. Who you are is beautiful, and we want to acknowledge that, learn about it. So, does that sound okay? All right.
I guess a good example of that would be, I'm INFJ, so I'm introverted, which means I hate large groups of people. Well, I don't hate. They just take me a lot of energy. After Sunday, I'm dead. Like, I just want to be myself after Sunday. I can handle myself and be present in that moment, but it's one of the most exhausting things I've ever done. Is kind of, I guess, the way to think about that. So.
And that's your natural state. And so if you were afraid of revealing that to people, then you wouldn't be able to really acknowledge and live into who you are.
Right.
Yeah.
So P is personality. And this is where your assessment, your DISC assessment, if you have it this evening, is going to come in a little bit. God works through different people in different ways. That's 1 Corinthians 12:6. So we're all different. Have you ever been around a person that you just clicked with automatically? You had just met, and it's like your best friends. You know, you have probably some matching personalities. You get along, you're comfortable with each other. What about the opposite? That person that's so annoying, you just want to hit them. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're clashing a little bit with that. And some of these also has to do with communication. Different personality types communicate differently. And part of this is where the DISC assessment comes in that we took.
How do you want us to write? Do you want us to use the verbiage on there, or the numbers, or where it says?
It should have given you your main one. So like your first. So like mine, I'm a C. Who else was a C?
I'm a C.
I kind of
Yeah.
want to know when we're
I'm
going
a
to stop.
CS, that I would.
Okay, well everyone should have a dominant, so that's the very first one. Like I'm a C, then I'm an S/I, because I also scored high average on those the same level. But my main one is C. So
Under your natural or under adaptive?
that's my natural. I'm just asking natural right now. Adaptive is different. So raise your hand if you're a D, natural D. Sarah, Howard, and Doug. Natural I's. I's? No? No I's? S?
How do you, what is I stand
It's the
for?
first
Oh,
one.
which one?
Sorry, I will go over that in a minute.
You were
Sorry.
The one
first
that
in
says
S.
high.
Sorry.
or very
I'm an
low.
S.
Right, no, look on your, where's the first sheet, the graph?
Internal.
Yeah, you're an S.
No,
Yeah.
just
You're actually
the,
equal
just the
in those
internal
two.
one.
Yep.
The internal, okay.
Internal
Not the
one.
external.
So it's the one you are.
Yeah, so
Like-
you're a C.
I don't want to. I figured going over internal and external might get confusing. So I'm just asking. This is who we are right now.
Can you say like what each one stands for?
Yes. Sorry, my bad. D is dominant. Dominant. So you.
Which is why I hate
Are you
So
a D?
high D is competitive.
Are you a D?
They are competitive, decisive, and independent. You know, Doug owns his own business. That makes a lot of sense to me. I'm sure he's very decisive, and you know, your business is competitive, right? Yeah. You know, Sarah likes to pick fights around the office.
No, but I think she's a pastor. It makes perfect sense. I mean, you need to
You
be
better be
decisive. You need to
decisive.
know.
Yeah.
You need to take charge. I think it makes perfect sense.
It's a good quality.
It is, but the way that it was originally like told to me, it was all the like sort of negative sides of it, I guess. And so when I first took the assessment, I had it in my head already that I was like, I don't want to be that one because that one sounds awful.
Yeah.
And then it came out really strong that one. So
So, all right. So who were I's again? Did we have any?
Oh, I had Mine were equal.
Natural. Okay, yeah.
you-
So high I's are enthusiastic, people-oriented, and emotional. Communicate with a high I through engaged listening, but keep him or her on task. Help him or
Squirrel.
by putting details in writing. Sorry, that's something I'll cover in a minute. So next is S. S. Who is S? That is steadiness.
That's an S.
An
I had,
S?
those were equal.
S. Okay, yeah,
That's cool.
it wasn't my strongest one, but I went to. High S's. They're agreeable, supportive, and reserved.
No.
Not, raise your hand again, S.
See,
Agreeable, supportive. Oh, they're, look, you guys are.
Yeah. And then the last one is, I've heard it, it's cautious, there we go, or conscientious, and who had C?
I have a C in
I was C.
Oh, man, that's a lot of C.
We have a lot of C's on staff.
We do.
I'm very
Were
male
you equal on
dominated.
D and C?
Yep, exactly.
I have
Wow.
an S,
So
C, and a D.
C's are organized, detailed, focused, and perfectionist.
Yeah, that's not me. Yeah, that's not me.
Now, if we were looking at this on like a grid, what do I have here? D and S. And then I and C, right?
No, no.
No.
Put S over in the, switch to S in
That's
this
what this says. Really?
Yeah, it does.
Yes.
Yeah, it does.
Like this?
Yeah,
Oh,
the way he did it.
oh, I didn't
We
know.
sent one of this thing.
on this little sheet it is.
She's dominant.
See?
See? See what I mean?
Back off, Sarah.
So what this means is these are opposites. So these are the people you're potentially going to butt heads with. We don't have a lot of I's, right? So C and I's, those are the people. But D and S, raise your hands, because these are the people that you'll kind of butt heads a little bit because y'all just communicate differently and react differently when you're under pressure.
I'm equal D, S, and C, so I think I'm just nothing.
Oh, look at you! Fantastic.
I'm cautiously dominant.
So.
I'm just, oh,
Cautiously dominant.
In that email I sent you really early today, like 2 hours before the meeting,
Really?
'cause I just
Oh, I didn't check.
wasn't thinking straight all week. But there's a picture that lists, it's like leading with DISC, and so it's for leaders and how you can communicate with your team based on these different based on the assessment. So like for D, let's say you're a leader and you're trying to communicate with a D. So you want to provide your direct compliments, give credit for works and ideas, and when you criticize, you want to be specific. Like, this is what I need you to do better, and then ask them to create and improve with like a clear time and frame. Let's see, then we'll go to I. So if you're working with an I, to provide good feedback and praise, deliver praise publicly.
Can I stop for a second?
Yeah.
Because nobody raised their hand for, like, they were the strongest on I, right?
Yeah, mine was equal to my S.
Yours is equal, so you were kind of the only one. Did anybody have I
Mine
as
too.
a second, as their second highest?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, I was just curious, because then we might find a few more. No, mine was second.
Mine was second best, yeah.
Oh, I, the second, yeah.
Mine
I
was
was
equal.
second,
Not
okay,
at all.
yeah, okay.
I was thinking yes. S looks like.
Really?
Well, on my staff.
it does.
So the other thing you can do is let him or her know that and others know to appreciate their energy and enthusiasm. And to give criticism, you provide criticism in private. So it's the opposite. You deliver praise publicly, criticize in private, being direct. And
It's always
then
good to have your spouse with you when you do this.
Nah, you're in a unique boat over there.
and then for C's, so I was a C. Provide praise in private. Like I said, we have a lot of our staff members. I know me, Stacy,
Carrot.
Jessica, and Kara. No, Kara was. We're all C's.
Or
So-
S, yeah,
Yeah.
or equal S. It was like, everybody else was C and S area.
Basically, it's all of us and then Sarah. Encourage growth. and reward him or her by providing new opportunities for independent projects. Criticism, deliver facts, and prepare for a potentially defensive reaction. Let me say that twice.
Do they?
Agree.
Maybe it needs to
Yeah.
be said twice.
Yeah.
Agree on a formal review process and timeline. I appreciate that. Probably because I was an engineer. I got that as an engineer at Honeywell. You know, end of year and mid-year reviews, like clockwork. So, and then last was S. Show your trust in him or her by giving them more responsibility. Provide praise in private. Let him or her know that they're a vital part of the team. For criticism, define expectations clearly. Address good performance before constructive criticism. And then provide regular feedback in a kind manner. And if you want to look at that, it's a huge image because it's so long, so we'll zoom out. But if you zoom in on that image I sent out, and I can send it out again if you need it, I found it on a blog called Lifehacker, and then I shared it with the staff. And it's really neat to look at. And if you know people's DISC profile, it really helps you work with them. If you have this graph, I found this fascinating because on the DISC assessment, you got an internal and an external evaluation. So your internal one's what you're natural with, what you tend to go for, and the adaptive one's the one you show in public. I am cautious internally, but then I am dominant. My adaptive is dominant, and I assume that also came from the engineering field, where I had to be very decisive and make decisions and work with because I was a project engineer, so I had a team that I worked with that I had to manage and be like, I need you to do this by this date, and if that didn't work, I had to go to their manager and get them to do work for me on time. So that's where I think that came from. But I think it's really neat to see. I had a very drastic difference, and I noticed it when I got the results. I go, yeah, that's kind of right.
Did anyone else have a really drastic difference between your internal and your external types?
Yeah.
What do you call drastic? Yeah.
No, I don't think that it means you're fake.
Oh, just the one.
I think that
It's how you deal with your surroundings.
yeah.
Because I had to be cautiousness within the engineering field would have gotten me nowhere. Like I had to make decisions because I was the guy in charge. I was the engineer in charge, so I had to make decisions sometimes at a risk of being wrong sometimes. So.
And you may be, I mean, it depends on like your family relationships. It depends on your living situation. It depends on your career and the tasks that you do every day. You may have to play up certain skills at different points in your life than you would have to at other points in your life. So, like I too had a really drastic difference. I'm an extremely strong D. If you look at my chart, my D is like, whoa, up there on the internal side. But it is the lowest. It is way down here on the external side. So I had to sit with that for a few days, and I thought, okay, so why would that be? Well, that might be because of the nature of my job. If I went all guns blaring all the time, like that could be really bad.
There would be rebellion. There would be rebellion.
That would be a rebellion. It would just constantly be, misunderstandings and hurt feelings and stuff. So I think it might be even a sign of growth for some people if you have identified that you need to play up different skills. And then I also, was sitting with it for a few days. I thought, well, it could also be a societal thing sometimes. Like you have to behave certain ways depending on your age, your gender. I mean, in society, if I just, as a female, was a really strong D all the time, that could be interpreted as something else. That could be called something else. So it could be that too.
A B, maybe a B.
A different a D.
A B.
There are all sorts of things that can play into that. So I would say no, it doesn't mean that you're being fake or that you're denying who you are, but it is really, really good to recognize. So that's been helpful to me to recognize that, hey, that must be sort of that internal struggle that I feel sometimes when I'm pulling back and I'm trying to play up on a different strength or something like that. So just sit with it for a little while, see if anything comes to you.
Do you know in any of your readings that it changes over your life? So that maybe in your 20s and in your 60s,
Oh, I'm sure it
that
changes.
if they looked at a lot of people, they saw there was a change in those over that period of time?
That would be really interesting. I mean, that would be kind of a Google
Curious.
search, but I'm going to let Barbara speak to that a little bit more next week, because the test that she does is of a different nature, and so it's the kind that would not change that much over the span of a lifetime. So,
But I even answering some of these questions, I thought 30 years ago I might have answered differently,
Yeah.
but at my stage in life now, it's like, okay.
Yeah, you're always changing. You know, you're going to change opinions, how you react to things based on something. Yeah.
yeah.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
That's always true. But then you live, and memory goes
But
away.
no, that's I don't know how long this has been around, but that'd probably be an interesting research experiment.
Yeah.
Just to have people take tests every 5 years and track how that changes with age.
Yeah.
Do y'all want to do that? Do y'all want to do
5 years.
We can all get together in
5
about
years.
10 years. We'll do it again.
It's so much fun.
Yeah.
Let's
Okay.
see. Come on
Do
here.
you have any?
No,
Oh,
we're,
you're
I'm
you
good.
too.
We're double up here.
Go relax over here.
Yeah, have a seat. Comfortable. E is experience. So we're at the end of shape. So experience. All that happens to us will work for our good if we love God. Romans 8:28. So your experiences make who you are. Almost literally. You had certain type of parents that raised you. You know, the more I think about it, the more I think I'm a healthy mix between my mom and my dad. When you meet my parents, if you get to meet my parents, my dad is very quiet, doesn't like to talk a lot. My mom won't shut up. We had someone come fix our microwave once, and she's just talking to him. And he's going to leave, and my dad goes, "Kim, he's trying to leave." My mom wouldn't stop talking. And I've got like a little bit of both. Like I can be quiet and reserved, but I can talk when I need to. At least I like to think I can. And it's also how you're confident. You know, you're more confident with certain experiences. What's a good example? I could be good in meetings because I had to do a lot. My experiences doing presentations in school, and then with Honeywell, I had to do a lot of presentations, a lot of meetings, and so I got very comfortable with those experiences. I used to hate them. Like in high school, I hated presentations, getting in front of the class. I'm a lot more comfortable with it now just because of the experience of going with it and it changed. So on the back of your sheet, it's going to ask you to list some of your experiences that you think really kind of shaped who you are as a leader. I'm trying to think. You have any good experiences, Sarah?
Experiences that have shaped you as a leader?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, I thought of the public speaking thing too. Just in probably the course of the last year, experience has taught me a lot. I used to not be able to eat before I preached at anything, or I would get nauseous. So every Sunday, I would do all 3 services without eating. And it just in the last couple of months, I'm just that much more comfortable with the public speaking aspect that's okay now, you know, and I don't obsess over it the way that it might have been before. So, yeah, I wish I could think of a different one than public speaking. Yeah.
So yeah, just think about that, and you know, as you fill out your shape profile, who you are, your shape. Keep all these in mind, and then we might discuss them later. So we're now going to transition to the 8 types of leaders. Sarah gets to start that. And the important thing is, well, I'll let you talk about it.
All right. So you have another sheet that says the 8 types of leaders. Now these are the 8 types of leaders that we are feeling like you need in a church. And so say we were going to start up a brand new campus, another site or something like that, we would specifically look for these types of leaders. So as we talk about them, I want you to sort of identify, like, oh, that kind of sounds like me, or that sounds like so-and-so that I know at church. That might be helpful. All right, so the first type of leader is the big picture leader. There are very few of these leaders in any organization, but these are like the vision casters. When you think about scripture stories, Abraham was a big picture leader, right? So he was thinking big picture for like the entire society. He's not thinking who's going to do what role or how it's all going to play out. This big picture leader, this is the kind of leader who's able to cast a vision for the whole church or maybe for an area of ministry. So a big picture leader may also show up in like a smaller group, may cast a vision for, an outreach, like recovery ministry, may cast a vision for children's ministry, that sort of thing. So it could be a little bit smaller than just the big church. They have a contagious enthusiasm that's rooted in their faith. They're not afraid of things that are too big for even them, okay? So they may cast a vision that is way bigger than anything that they could ever handle on their own, they could ever attain, but that doesn't seem to scare them off. Big picture leaders tend to draw people. They are able to organize them, and they know how to empower other people. That's really important. They know that to be effective in the long haul, they can't carry that big picture vision alone. Can't do it by themselves. Yeah.
So the next is startup leader. So this is the person that is really great at rallying the people, gathering the resources, the people he needs to go and start, get going, to get started. So there's a great deal of energy at the start of it. And so they, I don't know if you know much about rockets, but they use 70% of their fuel at takeoff. Because, it takes more fuel to get beyond Earth's gravity. And because starting up is really the hardest part of a project. Because you got to get it rolling, you got to get the people, the resources, and you got to push everyone. People get fearful, and you got to push through all that and get things moving. And that's what the startup leader is really, really good at. So the big picture leader has that vision. The startup leader takes that vision along with the resources they need to do it, and then punches a hole through a wall. We're going, people. A good example of this would be Paul. Gifted at rallying the crowd, getting the crowd together. He's passionate at taking that vision and starting that movement. The hard part with these leaders is that they're only good for the part. Because after they get going, after things get rolling, they get bored, and they want to move on to the next project. What?
We're identifying.
Oh, right. Yeah. So they're just really hard to contain. So once you get them going on that vision, they're gone. And you just hope they know what they're doing. Which most of the time they do, right? Come on, let's just be honest.
He's typecasting.
I am typecasting.
All right, third one is the forward motion leader. All right, so we've already got the big picture vision leader and then the rocket fuel behind it. So now this leader is like that sharp left brain analytical mind, okay? So after somebody's already started things and got it off the ground, then in comes somebody who maybe doesn't have that gift of developing the vision, but they're the key to moving forward, okay? Because like Asa said, the rocket fuel person is going to tire out. They're just going to peter out. No, I'm going to move on to something else that's really shiny. This forward motion leader is the one that's going to strategize. Okay, they're going to come up with the steps, the ways that we're going to move forward. They're more concerned about doing things right than doing the right thing sometimes. Or an example is procedure prevents problems. If this resonates with you, that's maybe your type. A biblical character for this would be Jethro. So where Abraham is the big picture leader, casts a vision, Jethro was the guy who came along behind him, right, and said, all right, so what about like this whole idea of 12 tribes? Maybe we could organize this a little bit better, right, come up with a strategy? Okay. That is the forward motion leader. So that reference was Exodus 18, 16 to 23.
Fantastic. Awesome. All right, number 4 is our team builder. So this is the guy, or gal, person who looks at all the people involved within the program, and they're really good at developing groups. They're really good at seeing people's gifts and taking them and matching them up with each other over the course of the program. They understand the value of better together. We're better teams, working together, multiple skills. They inspire their followers because people have a sense of whether or not their leaders appreciate their skills and their talents, whether vocally or through, we talked about maybe not. But, well, in your profiles, you talked about how you criticize or show appreciation for. And that's how a team builder is really good at seeing those and recognizing those for each person. And so they easily match those roles. Say, I'm really good at Excel sheets. Sarah is not. We make a great team because she's good at other things. So I can build an Excel sheet because there's nothing better than a well-built Excel sheet. Just be honest. Let's just be honest. And then these people, and the team builder also recognizes the need to help those following him feel honored and loved and having something to believe in, that vision to believe in, helping them to see that vision.
Okay. What are we on, 5?
Yeah.
You guys on 5? Oh, good. We're all on the same number. That helps. Okay. Number 5 is bridge builder. Okay. So the bridge builder is different than the team builder because the bridge builder is who you want when there's a conflict, when there's a problem. So this person can see a divide between two disagreeable groups and makes progress in bringing harmony and peace. So they can usually see alternatives that other people can't see. Where some people are seeing it as a clear fight on either side of the issue. The bridge builder can see the gray area and that there's room for us to meet in the middle. They do see the need to move on and to bring both sides along with them rather than setting up that win and lose situation. So for example, they can maybe build bridges between different generations. So they may be able to get the boomers and the millennials to find some common ground, and not feel like, well, it's got to be this separate group or this special thing for each age group, but that, yes, we really can exist side by side, but also we can even see the way that God appreciates one another, the way that God has created one another, that sort of thing. The bridge builders are energized by the thought of bringing these different groups together and keeping everybody on the same page. Okay.
Fantastic. All right, I got the next 2. So next, number 6 is critical crossroads leader. And every ministry comes to this point. You're going along, you're trucking, things are great, and all of a sudden you have a decision to make. Are we going to go left at the fork or right at the fork? And without someone that can, or without a team that can discern, what's the DNA of our community, which way do we want to go, what's our vision telling us, then you could stall out. You could peter out and have to restart the whole process again. And so that's the importance of these critical crossroads people, because they see that coming, and they discern which way the community needs to go, and so they can help diverge the community based on the DNA and the vision that was set down one path or the other. So we don't lose momentum, because no one likes to lose momentum. Once you get going, if you stop, people start to get depressed. They're like, well, what are we doing? And people get frustrated, basically. It's not good to make major decisions, like especially directional, like which way are we going to go, without this person who can discern those kind of things. They see the ultimate over the immediate, so they're very broad. They look broadly. Their immediate concern. What's a good example of immediate concern?
In the church,
Yeah.
The air conditioning breaks in the summer?
Air conditioning breaks. That's an immediate concern that needs to be dealt with. This is not with a critical crossroads person. They're looking down the road like, a year from now, 5 years from now, what are the decisions we're going to have to make? Where are we going to need to be? What do we want to be in terms of our community? And so they're really good at making they're tough calls to make, oftentimes, and so they're really good at that. Number 7 is the cheerleader. Yeah. Yeah, this person is very encouraging. And I'm sure we all have a cheerleader in our lives, because we all need them, I think. Someone that says, like, yeah, we got this, let's do it. They leave notes of encouragement. They keep the troop spirits high. That's morale. You hear about troop morale all the time in the news, because you got to keep that high, or else people make mistakes. People start to think maybe bad thoughts or negative thoughts that you don't want people to have. They plan appreciation moments. They plan retreats. They give out the rewards. We give out service rewards at church, right? Yes, that's a moment of cheerleading. We're happy for we appreciate our volunteers. We love our volunteers. We're glad people want to serve this community, and we want to celebrate that. That's what cheerleaders do. They whisper in the ear of the person they're cheering for, like, I love what you're doing. This is great. Maybe with the hopes of having them step up to the next level, being encouraging. You like being in a small group, maybe you want to lead a small group. Be that cheerleader to push someone to grow. That's what it boils down to.
Okay, the last type, I'll be honest, I really didn't like it the way it was written. They had it written the pastoral leader, but I felt like that wasn't really definitive enough, so I called it the shepherding leader. Because this leader's unique role is that they do a lot of caring. They do a lot of looking after people. Where's the shepherding thing in our spiritual gifts assessment? What does it say under shepherding? Because I felt like this is what they were really getting at.
There we go.
Thank you.
Shepherd.
Yeah, okay. Mentoring and providing spiritual guidance to others to help them develop into discipleship and faith formation. So that leader, I feel like they're a cheerleader, but it goes a little bit deeper than that. They're going to relate things back to our common ground of scripture, of prayer, of faith, of spiritual practices, of all those kinds of things.
These are your empathetic people, probably.
Yeah.
Who care.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they may engage in hospital visits, home visits. They're the ones who might notice when so-and-so is a little bit down when they show up for Bible study, that sort of thing. I want to give you a couple of minutes to turn to those around you and just share if you have felt like, oh yeah, one of these 8 styles of leadership just hit me right on the nose. That is me. Or if there are a couple that you might share. I'm going to give you until, what do you say, you need about 20 minutes?
Well, at least.
You need a little bit longer than that.
Well, it depends on how quickly people.
You get about a minute and a half. So you're not going to get to expound on it. Just share your leadership style that you feel like you're leaning towards.
This is non-committal, right?
Not
No, this is for life, man.
Signing up for
This is life.
Well, where are you?
Maybe a cheerleader.
A cheerleader?
See, shepherding was my
Yeah,
I
that's
think-
my age.
It wasn't mine too.
I can't say I'm the startup leader.
Oh,
I've
third.
always
Oh, I
felt I
see.
could do anything for a short period of
Mine was
time.
down.
These two are the same.
Yeah,
Bored and
I see.
tired
Oh,
out in doing it.
But
And I can push to get things started.
guess that-
Until my bank
And I do
experience, what I did was go in for 18 months with branches.
I just think
that were in trouble.
I've taken other tests
And turn them
before,
around.
and that's what I was, definitely.
gather.
Yeah, and then I'm like gung-ho, and then,
That is like, take it.
yeah, take it.
Yeah,
Yeah, take it,
yeah.
because I'm done. It's boring now. It's dull. And we did this at school. We had teams, teacher teams.
Oh, right.
And there were only 2 of us in the whole building that were started. And,
All right, so you're up.
but our team was really well balanced. We had 4 people and we had 4.
Do you want to pray before we take it, or you pray after we take it?
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. Okay, so what we're going to do, Barbara is going to get us started taking the assessment, but we want to pray together first, so you can just leave when you're done taking the assessment. You don't feel pressured like people are saying, hurry up, hurry up. So let's all come on up here, and we are going to pray together, our closing prayer, and then we'll take our Myers breaks.
Here we go.
After you.
Thank you.
We're doing now. End of Almost.
Our oval circle.
That's right. That's all right, guys. We're special.
As we stand together, we stand back to back in support and belief of one another and of the support and growth of one another's faith. But we stand looking out and we pray, dear God, that you give us guidance, that you give us inspiration, you give us direction as we look out into the world, as we look out with eyes that you have given us to see different spiritual gifts and different callings. God, help us to be fully present as we discover the gifts that you have given us and as we continue to serve this community. Amen.
Amen. All right. Thank you.
I noticed.
Someone appreciates me.
Okay, I'm gonna sit and she can tell us if she wants us to do.
I already know mine.
Oh, just a second. I
I've
have
done this twice.
Those of you who have done this, did you do Form G or did you do an abbreviated? Can't remember. Okay, well, I'm doing this. We do not call this a test because there are no right or wrong answers. It is an assessment and inventory. Your answers will help you show how you like to look at things and how you go about deciding things. So knowing your preference and learning about other people's, and that's what we're here for, is team building, can certainly make a difference. Read each question carefully and mark your answer on a separate sheet. Please do not mark in the books. Do not think too long, as Sarah said, about the question. If you cannot decide on a question, skip it but come back to it. Leave the space and come back to it. I will never see how you answered any particular question because I take these and I have a grid that scores them, that computes what you have. So I know some people think, well, yeah, if Sarah knows that I answered this, if she knows that I answered this way, she's going to. So anyway, just do it. Your first choice or first thought will probably be best. We can pass those out. And I have pencils. Oh. You don't think you want to use ink in case you made a bad choice you didn't think so.
We're writing a new paper.
Yes, yeah, just on,
So we don't need extra.
you just need a hymnal or
There's
something to
clipboards.
write on.
There's clipboards. Would anybody like a clipboard?
Yeah.
Pencil.
You're welcome. There's another clipboard. Oh, there's lots of them. Clipboards? Okay.
Can we just use those? No.
You're welcome. Yep, use those. We just have to put them back.
Oh, there's a bunch right there.
Mhm.
Marked on.
Yeah, just so I get it back. Okay.
Oh, no.
Well, just, no, you don't, just put your name, you don't have to do this.
Well, you don't have to do the little dots.
No, just print your name.
Oh, this reminds me of state testing.
That is,
Thank you.
that is if they're, if
SAT.
they're scored electronically, then you can choose. Good. Yeah, just write your name at the top, don't fill in the dots.
I just did the SoL.
Oh, okay, so we start with one, right? It's a good place to
Yes,
start.
teacher.
I think I'm stuck in sixth grade.
Oh, if she would come, that'd be great. Okay. So, because if I don't have the picture.
Yeah, we had that too.
Well, if she would be here to do it, that would be great. Be one less thing I have to do that. And then I'll get that book back.
Yes, yeah. You can, whenever you go back, like, obviously you need it for scoring, so.
Well, no, I meant the one that I gave her to scan them.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can get that one back too.
When's she here?
She's here Tuesday through Thursday, 9:30 to 12:30.
Okay. So I can maybe stop over.
Yeah, and
Tomorrow.
Carl's gonna come by tomorrow morning.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna do this.
Okay.
Because
Okay. Okay.
Can we come to the table?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you want a clipboard? Gondoline?
What?
Do you want a clipboard?
No, I just don't want to do it.
Oh, okay.
Because they always come out crazy.
No, there's nothing. Nope, no good or bad. All 16 types are wonderful and valuable, and
The ones we were supposed to do that I couldn't get. The answers are not, the selections that you have to choose from really don't.
I felt that on
They
that.
didn't
This
feel,
one-
they
this-
didn't do that for me either,
This,
yeah.
yeah, this one is.
This is a different,
This is a whole
whole
different,
different thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Most of them that you take are just ridiculous.
No, I don't think you'll find this to be ridiculous.
Oh, yeah.